Bueno, buenas tardes a todos. Muchas gracias a Richard, que está con nosotros el
Hola.
día de hoy, contestando algunas preguntas que nos hicieron llegar por Instagram, por Facebook. Entonces, vamos a mostrar cada una de las preguntas. Richard, me voy a pasar a inglés porque, bueno, Richard habla por ahí un poco de español.
Sí, poco a poco español, escuché más. Sí.
Claro,
Español, sí.
un poco. Entonces,
Poco.
nada, nos vamos a inglés y empezamos. ¿Ok, Richard?
Sí, muy bien, muy bien.
Very good. Thank you very
Gracias.
much, first of all, for being here.
Yeah,
So we're going to start by answering some questions, okay?
perfect.
These are some questions we got from Instagram and Facebook. Just give us whatever you consider the best answer,
Sure, my
all
best
right?
answer,
So,
no problem.
good. We're going to start with the first question here. That is, how do native speakers truly feel when speaking with non-native English speakers? That is
Right.
a good
Yes.
one, right?
So this can be very subjective. If I speak on like my perspective,
Right.
I really take my time, to listen. When someone is speaking, English, and it's not like obviously their native, tongue, native language, I really just like, listen to them more, listen to how they're speaking, maybe how quickly or slowly they're speaking. And I really just, take my time, to understand what they're doing. And I think you get that more when you do travel, to more different areas. But then there could be another person who maybe tolerance is a little lower. And when I hear you like, okay, what is it you're trying to say? Where is this point going to? So I would say again, it's truly depending on the person, who you're coming across. But for me, it's I'm always open, and it's not a problem.
Right. I think this comes like from what people say, right? Because
Yes.
normally people tell students like you're
Yeah.
gonna have a hard time or
Yeah.
they will not understand you. And I think stereotype plays a very important role,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So from my point of view, for instance, I think that British people are normally really patient with foreigners.
Which is
And
yes.
at least that's
From your
that's been my
experience.
experience, exactly. Speaking from my experience, but I don't know. Do you know someone who is not like really patient?
Yeah, it's again seen some cases where they haven't, and again it could be just the English level, maybe they've just come to UK, and it's like again maybe they can understand it, but I'd say again like generally again most people are more patient, but I have seen some cases. Just being honest.
No, yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yes.
That's great. So let's see. The next question we have here. Do native English speakers ever notice that someone isn't a native speaker despite speaking fluently? If yes, how?
Yes, I would say a big yes on that. I think, and this is where I think the slang gets like kind of intertwined and mixed into it, because again there's some cases where someone you can see like the English is so fluent, it's really at a great level, but then you can see that they're speaking way more formal when it's just like a conversation between like friends in a less
Right.
informal environment. So you'll be thinking like, why are they always using all these formal terms, phrases, expressions? I was like, okay, it's from another place. So I think you'll pick up more, like they'll try to be more formal, where it's like, we ain't really in a formal setting, we can just speak as we're friends or in that. So that's sometimes how I identify, most times.
Okay, so when people use no slang at all,
Yes.
that's when you would say like, nah, you're way too formal.
Yeah. 'Cause it's like they put in more, and it's like I was like, I get it. It's
Right. Yeah, that's so true.
yeah.
Okay. Next question. It says, what are words and phrases in English, which is connected? I think it's related
Yeah.
to what you were mentioning before,
Yeah.
that non-native speakers would use,
Yes.
but native speakers would never use.
Never use it. The most common phrasal verbs is like a piece of cake. Yeah, like that's a very common one. I will say that, oh, it's a piece of cake, and they'll be like, what? Like, it's easy, it's easy. You know, that's a common one. Another one is like, if I say like to knock it off, like knock it off, the music's too loud, you knock it off, or reduce it. And you know, yeah, I think those would be the two main ones. Maybe like, we gotta go, we gotta go. We're like, we gotta get to our place, we
Yeah,
gotta
right.
leave now, So, and I think sometimes it's the way how quick native people can be used to saying like, knock it off, piece of cake, we gotta go. It can be so quick, and it can be like, come again, could you repeat it again?
Right.
So yeah,
So, for instance, in your experience teaching,
yeah.
uh, probably you've come across with this, some students that they use these words that you're like, nobody speaks like that,
No one.
right? Just you, maybe.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned piece of cake was
Yeah.
one of them. Which
Mhm.
other expressions do students normally say that might sound weird to you?
Hmm. Hmm. Maybe. Maybe if they're thinking of something, maybe if it's like they're thinking, of an idea, they could say, like I've had like students who will be like, okay, they're thinking of like the right word to use to me, and they'll probably insert another word. They'll say like, I'm procrastinating, and I'm like, no, 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 it's not really. You can insert in it, but they'll say it to me because they'll think like, oh yeah, 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 you would know this, So I think sometimes just inserting words that can be seen like more fancy, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, yeah, rather than just say, no, I'm just thinking instead of procrastinating. That makes sense.
All right. Yeah. When they
Yeah.
try to show their level, they have.
Yes, like
All right.
the more to impress, to impress,
Mhm.
like with the vocabulary.
Which is
Mhm.
quite funny, right? Because
Yeah.
probably they are doing it with you.
Hmm.
They are using all these fancy words, but when
Yeah.
it comes to testing, they forget
Yeah.
about those words.
Right away. Right away. Yes.
And
Yes.
they
Yes.
use only basic English. It's like, oh
Basic
my word.
ones. Yeah. I'll be looking. I'm like, wow. When did you learn this?
Nice, very interesting.
Yeah.
Now we have here another question. This one says, "Can native speakers speak English in such a way that non-native speakers find it very hard to understand, but native speakers don't?"
Right, right, right. I believe you can. And again, it's always pretty much like the first time you're having a conversation. I'm very kind of quick to now understand someone's kind of level of English, like within maybe like the first 30 seconds or maybe even less, so I can kind of see if it's someone who, again, just maybe difficult to communicate in a longer conversation. It's like I could probably just slow it down. What's your name? Where are you from? What are your hobbies? Use like more of that TP, more hands on that. So yeah. So I think to answer the question, I think it's possibly changing the tempo really helps. If it's like, again, someone who's native, and not changing the tempo, probably using again more of your like hands to demonstrate what you're showing. And yeah, I think that's the best way to just
And
communicate. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And there is a very, very important thing. People in Mexico think that the English they are learning here will not really help them
Yeah.
in real life.
I've heard this.
Normally, that happens when they learn from books.
Yes.
This English from books, which
Yeah.
is a little bit too formal.
Too.
So I think that this is like the fear of this person, right? Like
Yeah.
if they go to England, for instance,
Hmm.
and you and your friends, you want to keep things secret. Is
Yes.
there a way you can actually like isolate that person, even though they speak English,
Hmm.
and just speaking between you? Is there a way to do that?
I think there is. I think, and again, it's choosing just choosing the again, how formal or how casual you're gonna go. There's some formal words that again you're learning from a youth in English, or various English speaking countries, that someone who has just maybe just come to England or English speaking country for maybe a certain amount of time, just come under a year or stuff, like they may not be able to comprehend right away. So yeah, there's been times like I could with my colleagues, back in London, it's like if we're speaking informally, it would be very difficult to understand some, words, because it'd just be very fluent, using these type of terminologies and words.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Using
yeah.
like strange words and then speeding up.
Yes, yes,
Really
yes.
trick,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yes. And I feel that, just even add on that, I feel it's the same, in Spanish speaking countries. It's like they got have their own slang, and it's like they obviously they got the ones that they could speak, that even someone like me who has, learned Spanish, I could be like, what are you saying?
That's the
So,
thing, but
yeah,
I think that, for instance, in your case, that you're learning Spanish,
yeah,
I think that, for instance, in Mexico, it's a little bit harder because
yeah,
we tend to be like really loud, you know.
sure,
So
sure.
when we're speaking, and especially, for instance, if you're in a group,
Yeah,
like everyone is trying to speak at the same time. So
yes,
I
yes,
think it's gonna be kind of hard for you to catch word here or there, right?
yes, yes.
But I think that British are not that loud. So
Not too, not too. Again, and I always say this is the setting. Setting could be at like a coffee shop, or it could be at a football, soccer game. So you really see the changes of like kind of the emotions and how the behavior is at the settings. So maybe at a football game, it could be very difficult to pick up, what they're saying. But maybe in a calmer environment
true.
like a Starbucks, it could be, more.
Too busy. All
Yeah,
right then.
exactly.
So the next question is actually the same. It's related to this.
Sure.
Is how important is it to learn slang?
Yeah, I think this is probably the most important, because especially when you do come and you arrive to an English speaking country, most, like, even how you meet some of your friends can be just maybe your neighbors, or like, a person like who's local to you. So most of the times they're going to be speaking the language of their environment, which perhaps most likely is going to be slang. So if you
Right.
can't, yeah, so if you can like pick up the slang, it does help you to, again, just get more comfortable in your environment, and it also helps you for picking up more of the words, because you'll be able to understand, like, okay, this means this, and it's like I can use a piece of this, chunks of and that on the thing. So yeah, Mhm.
Yeah. Then again, normally what I suggest students is that they learn slang, but like before they travel,
Right,
because it's
yeah,
really local.
yeah.
So for instance, even in England, right,
Mhm.
there are some parts in England in which they use proper to mean like very.
Very,
Then
yes,
people in London, you tell them this is I don't know, proper difficult, and they're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
what's
what do
that
you
about? So
yeah,
even among natives, you don't sometimes understand each other.
yeah,
So for instance, right now that you are in the US,
yeah. Mhm.
slang is totally different,
Exactly,
right? Your
on the
British
other
words and
side.
American words
Yeah,
are gonna be different.
of course.
So I agree with you. Yes, slang is
Mhm.
important, but
Yeah.
I have always been of the idea that you've better learn slang before you're traveling, when you know where you're going to be,
Yes, yes, yes. It
right?
really does give you that kind of advantage, because that's really what you always need. Like, especially going into a country where it's not your native language, you always want to just be in the best prepared, state. So yeah, for sure, learning it just before, just the basic slangs for where you're going to, it really does help a bunch. Yeah.
Have you ever been in that situation that you're talking to another British person and you're like,
Yes.
what on earth are you saying?
Yeah, yeah. In if we take for instance, I was born in London, United Kingdom, but I have traveled around England to Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool. So yes, they have their own, slang, and also the accent is
Oh
even,
yeah,
yeah, very, very difficult. I was speaking to, one of my students, earlier before this, about like, yeah, when I went to like Liverpool and Birmingham, even I, as an England native born, it's like I had to adjust to their accent, what they were saying. So
yeah. They, they
yeah,
they make different sounds. Like for example, Mancunians, no,
yes,
people
yes,
from Manchester, that they have like
yeah,
this.
very
I
like
don't know, this
this.
accent is
Yeah,
really
yeah. Like, first, if I was gonna say like, okay, I said, oh, my kids, they would say my lads. My lads.
my lads.
Lads, another word for like your young kids. And they would just
Exactly.
say my lads, but it's very quick, and their voice is like high pitched, like my lads, and I'm like, what? Oh, your kids to the first
Yeah,
time.
or my, that they say me, like
Me,
me mom's there.
me
So it's like
moms, me
me
moms,
mom,
me dads,
my dad.
me pa. They will say me pa. you know.
Yeah, that
So,
happens, right?
yeah. So as I said, it takes even for me who's there, it takes a while sometimes just to adjust. But after a time, I can kind of, get pretty much what they're saying.
I think that what you're saying right now is gonna help like students a lot, because
Yes.
normally they are very nervous about that, and they have said that to me. Like,
Yeah.
I try to talk to someone, or I try to watch a film or something, and I
Yeah.
don't understand it,
Yeah.
right? So I
Yeah.
think what
Yeah.
you're saying right now, that as a native, sometimes you even have that issue.
Yeah.
That's kind of like,
Yeah.
oof,
Yeah,
that's
it's just
gonna
like
relief.
relax, pressure release.
Yes, definitely. All
Excellent.
right, then. This next question says, how can I understand native speakers speaking? Was
Mhm.
I have studied in the UK for 5 months. I find I hardly make any progress in understanding their speaking.
This question, right. So this is a common one I get, from like students all across, the world. I think overthinking can be the biggest deterrence in understanding, English native speakers. They sometimes you hear they say just let the conversation flow. It's like you're meeting someone. Let's say if we go back to like Starbucks, they're asking for your coffee. If you just kind of let them talk, just listen more, and then it's like you can kind of just like understand a bit more. I think what a lot of people do is they come with the whole thing of like, okay, all right, there's free kind of ways I can ask for this coffee or latte. They like, again, thinking too much before they've even asked it. So and it's even happened to me in the past when I have overthinked for something. It can then like just lead into a mistake or an error, and it's like you try to spend time to correct yourself. So and from my point of view, I think overthinking can be
Yeah,
sometimes.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
This person like rehearsing before asking for a coffee.
Yes.
Like, what would be the best grammar? What did
What
you
would be the
say?
best one? What would be the best? Okay, I need the coffee like this big. I want it brown. Sugar. No, sugar should go before. So that's
Yeah, exactly, right?
yes,
Exactly.
yes.
So
Right on.
definitely that is a good one, right?
Yes,
Overthinking is like
yes.
the main
Yes,
issue.
yes, yes. Yeah, and even this, I do understand that because again, it can it's so like when you do go to a place which again it's not your native, it's sometimes going outside of your comfort zone. So there is that
Right.
kind of like it's the fear, sometimes the fear of the unknown, and again you're trying to do your best. So naturally sometimes you will sometimes do it and you don't really mean to do it. So it's just trying to get out of that habit of like don't think too much. You will get this eventually, from just more repeated, like, trials. It's like a trial and everything. Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
totally, I totally agree with you.
Mhm.
Now, this one is important, and I think
Mhm.
this question, when I read it, I think it's like one of the most common
Yeah.
questions slash complaints about
Okay.
English speakers. So it says, why do so many non-native speakers speak English, but most Anglophone native speakers from USA, Canada, etc.,
Yeah.
don't speak a second language?
Second language. Yeah. I from my perspective, especially like coming from the school, when I was in school, we second language we studied was French. But it still was not kind of pushed like you need to learn French just in case you are in a French speaking country, or you need to communicate with French. So from what I've experienced and even time spent in the US, it's not really pushed like it's a necessary, like it's a mandatory. You already speak English, so that already counts as like like it's a more advantage.
You're done.
Exactly. I even back then, David, I never saw it that way. I was always impressed, like because place like England, United Kingdom, very diverse, so many different
Right.
cultures, so many different language. I was always impressed that they could have one language where they speak English perfectly, and they got their other language, the second language. So I always saw that this is an advantage, and it always inspired me to like as I'm learning Spanish now to get to this point. So to answer this question, I just don't believe they always see it as necessary. They think if you've got English, it's like you've got the pot of gold, and this can open every door on the planet, so
Yeah, especially
yeah.
because like the rest of the world are pushing people to speak English,
Yes.
right? So I
Yeah,
think that that is also helping these people who don't
exactly.
think it's important to learn
Yeah.
another language. Like they will have to come to me and they will have to catch up,
Yes,
right? Like
yes, like you're
I'm
already
already
on the
here.
line. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
you
I'm
see.
already here. So
Yes, yes.
why would I?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yes. But hopefully, I'm hoping there will be a change to that. I really hope, like maybe in the curriculum, they'll really push, like, okay, if you are in England or you are in USA, you got the choice to learn, Spanish, French, German, just more.
Definitely.
Yeah, it would really be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool
Yeah.
especially because I think that sometimes native English speakers do not understand a person who is learning English, and
Yes.
they make mistakes and something. As you said, right? They are like
Exactly.
not that patient with
Yes.
people. So
Yeah.
probably that would help.
It would.
Like,
It would. Just even correcting those like early, common mistakes that you're naturally gonna have when you are learning a language, just like,
right.
structure and just like, little, mistakes and that. So if you can like interpret their language, it will really help them growing at more way.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. This one, as a native English speaker, do you hate when you hear foreigners speak bad English?
Oh, I love it.
You love it. How
I
come?
love it because I always like to see the progress. Like I've had
Exactly.
students where we've gone lesson one where again had to use a lot of TPR, had to really sell my way and then seeing their progress like after a month or 2 months with them. And I say to them, like, don't you see the improvements? Like how we went from this stage to this stage? It's amazing. But again, someone who maybe has a lesser tolerance, who sees it
Of
may,
course.
because I think with that, because it's an excellent question. I think with this, David, is really again like who's it's like impacting, and again their tolerance and patience level. Some people again they want stuff like on the go, like communicate to me so I can understand just once. I only give you one time to communicate,
Right.
so but like with me, again I've always like kind of understood, like again we're all from different parts of the world, so I can kind of be more empathetic and see it from their side. So
Yeah, that's
I
great.
totally mhm.
That's great. And I think that with students that happens that happens a lot.
Yeah,
That they don't even notice
yeah,
they are making this progress, right? For example,
yes,
here at DEBDEN that happens because
mm,
they have lessons with me or other
yes,
tutors. And for them it's like whatever. But when
yeah,
they meet coaches, for example, when they meet you
yeah,
or other teachers, like, did you notice you could understand what he said?
yes,
And that's when they realize it's like,
yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah,
you know,
just clicks. They're like, oh,
yeah.
I actually am. You seem
And
that
when they
more
notice,
comfortable. Yes, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and I think that when they notice that you are understanding what they are saying, I
Mhm.
think if that really hits them,
Yeah.
it's like, so I'm saying the correct words, you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
It,
they
it's
get excited about it.
yeah. It's that kind of realization, that they're at a point where they can communicate effectively, and it
Yeah,
brings like great joy, when you see that, as the coach and also the coach such tutor and the student is it's
of
amazing.
course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a
Yes.
really good moment. Now,
Exactly.
this question says, why do English speakers think? Sorry, what? I read why. What do
Yes.
English speakers think of different foreign accents?
Foreign accents. Right, right. So I think from if we do as an example, when I was back in the UK, there was France, a lot of French students would come to England to study, and also we had students from Spain as well. Depends. Some can, again, they can like greet them like, oh, I love this particular accent. It's like I love the
Right,
difference. It's unique. It's something different. And then there is again a negative way. They'll look at it like, oh, it's a different accent. They're not going to be clear to understand, what I'm saying. In some instances, they could be like, I want, again, I need someone. They have this kind of misconception that if you have a French accent or a German accent, that I'm not going to be able to understand clearly, which again, sometimes I've heard that in previous positions as well, so
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, but again, like from my position, I've always loved hearing something different from like where that was located before. I always like it's like, okay, you have a French accent. Then it's like you kind of learn a bit more of the culture. I understand, so
Right.
it's like it
And
opens the door. Mm.
has it ever happened to you that people are speaking and they are telling you something, but you don't get it, and it's because of the way they say it?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, if it's in again, if it's like if they've said something to me and it could have been just like, for example, where is the plaza? And
Right.
again, it's like an accent that again I've probably heard, but it's the first time, we're speaking. There will be times I'll be like, okay, I understood you, but just say it, one more time. It's like just let me confirm this thing. And if they've said it the second time, and probably I still can't understand it. I'm more of a patient person, so I'll try to again find other ways to get around it and that. But again, very subjective. I think someone could probably, if they don't understand it, it'll be like, no, I don't want to like do this anymore. I'm just gonna move on. So
Yeah, I don't
anyone
want to
mood,
talk to you
I
anymore.
don't want to talk to you. Yeah, yeah, which happens.
All right. Yeah, this next question is actually, I think, like pretty much in the same line, because it's
Sure.
like, does accent matter when foreigners talk to native speakers in English-speaking countries?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Because in some places, if we be honest, there is this kind of like inclusiveness. Like there's a
Right.
lot of, and especially in the United Kingdom, there's a lot of communities. If you travel all around different, there's a lot of these like groups and communities. So majority of times they always want a communities that are pretty much the same. They speak the same, they're from like, they like the same kind of sports teams,
Right.
so if there was someone who came in, yeah, David, and again the accent wasn't the same as that already community, it can sometimes kind of be seen as like oh, you're not, part of us, you're like an outcast. Yeah, which
Really?
yes, yes, seeing this like, growing up in schools and in the school system, and also like, even some communities, so it does, happen. I think times are changing. Now we're in this era from back in the days when I was a young lad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, to answer the questions, I don't think for someone who has traveled around Europe, who has traveled in the States, traveled in Canada, been in Mexico, it does not necessarily matter, because it can, if you're able to, hear them and they communicate their English effectively, it shouldn't be a problem. But there is that kind of community, of like, again, they want everyone to kind of be the same, where that
Right.
particular kind of effect, and that's just the honest, truth.
So it's more like a matter of luck, I think, because
Exactly, exactly.
if you're lucky enough and
Yeah.
you meet someone who is patient and a nice person, then
Yes.
that will not really matter. But if you're unlucky and you meet someone who is actually, kind of, I don't know, a frustrated person in
Yeah,
life,
yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna have a hard time there.
Yeah, I know you mentioned this earlier, David, about like the stereotypes. Like that
Exactly.
can, yeah, I think if you come in and unfortunately you meet the person who is in a bad mood, it's like he's probably tired at his job, or just something, and you meet him, that bad experience sometimes can kind of go on with your experiences in that new English, speaking country. So it really, it sometimes can shape, how you kind of, perceive how people are to be, so
Yeah.
luck
First
is, a,
impressions.
yeah,
First impressions
exactly,
matter. Yes.
exactly, so I'd say luck is a huge fundamental factor in that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Normally, I think this question comes because what I've noticed, for instance, here in Mexico, is that
Yeah.
we Mexicans, we are like really strict with English learners, like
Yes. Yes.
even though the person is not, I think not teachers, like
Yeah.
people who don't speak English,
Hmm.
who have never studied English,
At all.
like they like to be super strict with people who are learning English.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
your accent is not like that, and you're
Yeah.
speaking it wrong. And
Exactly.
I don't know if it only happens here, but it's something that happens quite often.
Sure. Sure.
So most of the time students are insecure about their English,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because of this. Because it's
Mhm.
like, I know my friends are telling me
Yeah.
that I speak awfully, or and when I try to speak
Yes.
it properly, they tell me
That,
like, "Oh, now you think you're American or something."
yeah.
This kind of
Exactly. Yeah,
idea.
yeah. From the friends, and also I've even heard from my students, the family. They could say like, "Yeah, your English is not as it's not as good as mine." So
Really?
yeah, So
Jesus.
I was like, yeah, So that again, it can really, depending how again your personality is. You may look at it like,
Right.
okay, this is some like constructive criticism. I can take this and just keep on moving forward. Then there is some ones that it could hurt, but
Yes.
I just see it as like any criticism. So don't take it personally. You will always improve if you're willing to give that commitment. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I think you need to be wearing like really thick skin,
of
because
course.
comments are
Yes.
gonna come like
Yeah,
from
yeah.
different places all of the
Yes.
time, and
Yes.
you
Yeah.
just have to
I
cope
get
with
I
it.
get I get that with my Spanish.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Before in the earlier stages when I got there with Spanish. But again, I learned then how to kind of adjust myself and adapt. That adaptation is a real big thing.
Right. But
Yeah.
from my experience, I think that England and Canada,
Yeah.
like London, for instance, it's
Uh,
a safer place
Yes.
when you have a heavy accent. Because
Yes.
I mean, you know London, you
Of
cross the street
course.
and the person you're talking to has now a different accent to the person you were talking to before.
Yes. Yes.
No, so
Yeah.
it's like really weird, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if they are British. For instance, you in your case,
Yeah.
with you have this accent with the V, that you say
Hmm. Yes. They
with,
go with. Yeah.
and many people say with, like with
Yes. Like with
the tongue between the teeth.
exactly. Yes.
So, and that happens a lot in London. That's why I normally tell students, like, from my experience,
Yeah.
England, London precisely, and Canada, like the safest places, because since everyone there has a different accent, like
Yes. Yes.
they have already stopped caring, like
Yes. 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 Yes.
whatever.
I know. I agree. I agree. I'm as I said, David mentioned earlier. I'm in the US now. Less kinder than in UK. Just being honest. Like, just
Yeah, that happens, right? Because
yes.
I think it's because in the US it's a little bit more standardized.
Of course.
Like
Yes.
everyone speaks similarly,
Yeah.
so
Pretty much.
it's really like you really stand out
Yeah.
when you're not American,
Exactly. And
right?
similar to the UK, you've got areas in I'm in New York now, and they've got an accent different to someone who could be in Texas or Florida. Like a lot of the states comes with
Right.
their own accents. So hmm
Yeah, so it happens even among natives, so we shouldn't
yes.
be worried about that.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yes.
as English speakers, as
Exactly.
non-native English speakers.
Non-natives. And
This one says, "I can understand English, but I can speak it well." This is like a classic.
Mhm.
How can I improve my communication skills? There is a classic person. I read it, I can understand what I hear,
Yes.
I can write it, but I cannot speak.
Speak it well. Yes, yes, yes. This is again common classic one of like yeah, I listen to it's no problem, but when it comes to speaking, it's kind of just putting the words that I can already listen, generate it to speech. And I always again from like what I've done like even my past students, I ask them, I say like, oh, okay, what is like your favorite, if we go into like media, what is your favorite like TV show? And they say, okay, I like Big Bang Theory. And I'm like, okay, right, right. So when you watch Big Bang Theory, have you ever tried, watching in English? And they said, yeah, yeah, yeah. I watch it in English. I can understand, the slangs, and the words
Mhm.
they use and that. And I'll say, okay, okay. Like if you're watching this, try watch it maybe more times. Try watch it like multiple times, and then, in our next class, we're gonna just talk about Big Bang Theory. Every time this happened, David, I started to see that their comfortability on speaking more improved significantly.
Right.
Yeah, because they were watching a show that they loved. They've already been watching in their native language, and then they just, okay, I'm gonna try watch a couple of episodes in English, and they felt so excited and like so confident to then like okay use some of the words and even like them phrasal kind of words they learned from that and use it like when speaking to me or speaking to another English speaking person, So
Yeah,
that's
right.
one way.
Which is something, for instance, I normally tell
Yes.
students, like try to memorize or try to imitate people from shows. Like
Yeah.
sitcoms are the best ones, right?
Yes.
Because for instance, when they tell me it's because I watch, I know, Star Wars in English.
Yeah.
Let's see when you need to say lightsaber in your life. I
Yes.
mean, that's like not likely,
Not too much. Yes. Yes.
But for instance, sitcoms, and
Yeah.
what I always tell them is try to remember phrases, like complete phrases,
Exactly.
right? Because that comes with prepositions
Of
and
course.
collocations. Like
Yes.
learning the chunks, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
is like
It's like the
the best thing,
structure. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna be easier grammar,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
that is, especially
Yeah.
with prepositions in
Yeah,
English.
yeah, because even like that, it's like I believe once you've already understood it and you can already listen to it, you already have
Right.
the ability, but it's just getting that kind of confidence. So if you are seeing it on a regular basis in sitcoms, which is a great way, naturally you're gonna be just more confident, and you'll just realize that, okay, I'm already speaking in a better way, and it's
Yeah,
just like,
right,
what
right.
happened? I was like,
When did this happen? Right?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
All right. This
Mhm.
one says, how can I improve my communication skills? I want to speak English effortlessly,
Mhm.
like my mother tongue. What should
Mm.
I do?
Right, right. So there are again different methods how you can get to this point. Some people choose the method of more more work. Like if I'm studying English, I should be given like maybe like X amount of hours in a week. I should be listening to English podcasts, more watching TV shows. There is that way. I personally believe that way can be very taxing. It can be, again, there's too much, and again, you need your brain to rest to process all of this information. I think I consider learning a language or even just kind of perfecting your skills as a sport. As a sport,
Right.
if you're someone who loves to go to the gym or plays football, basketball, tennis, and that, I'm pretty sure when you play those sports, you have like a routine schedule. Maybe it's 2 days a week, 3 days a week, or maybe some days if you're busy, it's only 1 day a week. I think if you're staying to that routine and you say, okay, all right, Wednesday, I'm just gonna do 1 hour of like learning English, and it's like, it maybe if I've got like 15 minutes, like the next day I'm gonna spend that just to keep on refreshing my mind. 15 minutes on Thursday, 15 minutes on Friday. Naturally, you're gonna see that improvement. It's not gonna be a vast improvement because again, it comes with time, but there will be improvement there. I think what can be the biggest mishaps, and again, going back to the sports, is just the lack of commitment. It's just the lack of commitment because again, everyone's schedules change. It's stuff I talk with my students. If they can't come to one session, it's okay, reschedule for next time. But you're just always making sure that even if you did miss a lesson, you're doing everything to kind of stay on track, and just coming
Exactly.
big. Yeah, because you don't want to stop momentum. That's the worst thing. Like when you're going well, the tutor and the student and students, you're seeing the improvements, and then it just stops, and it's like you have to catch up. That's what can put you that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I think
yeah,
you're right,
yeah,
because normally students start like really well,
yeah.
but the time or the moment they start rescheduling, for example, lessons,
Yes.
that's when they start losing that momentum that you
Yeah.
mentioned exactly.
Exactly. Hmm.
So that's very important. As you said, I totally agree. This is like going to the gym.
Yeah.
You have to be consistent and
Yes.
committed to it,
Hmm.
right? And even and you know what? It's even going to the gym,
Yeah.
because, for instance, when we know about learning English and how to make the pronunciation
So,
more accurate, because that's
mhm.
something I always tell my students, like we will never sound native, because we're not,
Of
and it's
course.
part of our identity. I think
Mhm.
it's not a bad thing,
Yeah. Very true.
but if you want to sound closer to that, you have to exercise, because
Yeah.
it's like it comes from the muscles. It's a physical
Exactly.
thing,
It's a muscle. Yeah.
right? For
Mhm.
instance, you're learning Spanish,
Yeah.
and I think you've noticed that Spanish, it's more like in the front of the mouth. All the
Yes.
sounds are from here, not from here.
Of
Like
course.
English,
Yeah.
some English
Yeah.
with here,
Ooh.
right? So
Mhm.
everything is here, and even the voice changes,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
you
One
sound
thing
different.
I've noticed from my peers, they've told me like, okay, when you transfer from English to Spanish, it's like I'm a different person. I want to get the tone. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and for instance, have you asked your family? Like,
Yeah.
which Richard do they like the best?
Yeah, they say they
The
like
English
this.
or the Spanish
They
Richard?
said they like the Spanish one. It's like it's very I'm very like dramatic because again I watch a lot of TV shows in Spanish. So in some way, shape, form, it's like I'm mimicking what I see, the expressions. So it's like I changed kind of my mind that I'm not English now. I'm Spanish, which has helped a lot when I see it.
Yes,
But yeah,
yes, of course, of course.
yes,
Very, very good. We're
yeah,
gonna hit the last question right now, which is,
sure,
I think, now very interesting one.
okay,
Well, I mean, the others also have been really
sure,
interesting,
sure.
but this one, it's more to you. What are
Mhm.
some common mistakes native speakers make? Because that
Ah,
is a misconception that native speakers are perfect and
yes,
they have perfect English. If your
yes.
teacher is a native speaker, then whatever he says
Another phase.
or she says,
Yeah.
that's what it is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are the most common mistakes? I have already some in mind, but
Yeah, you already got one. Common mistakes. Common mistakes, probably even just a structure of a simple sentence. I'm going to the barbers. I'm going to the supermarket. It could be said in UK, I going to the barbers. Like because again, sometimes when they're speaking, it could be very quick as
right,
I've heard from sometimes. So they can sometimes just miss off like I am going to the barbers or I'm going to the barbers, and you couldn't hear like what did you say? So it's in the sense of that of just like having that correct grammar, speaking. They're going very quick from A to B to tell that
yeah,
point, and yeah, that's a very common one. What else? What else? You could also say even pronunciation of just some words as you said like even in England like you have the different place when they say the lads or the kids or
yeah,
so like sometimes the pronunciation of let's say if a person from Liverpool has come to London and they're saying like I took the Jubilee the Jubilee line, it's probably like very
right,
crazy,
yeah,
but
yeah,
from their
yeah,
accent they probably said it like it's the Jubilee line or it's a different line, Westminster, so I think sometimes where I always read and how an English person would say it, maybe a different person who is in England with different accent could interpret it in a different way. So misspell.
definitely, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, that's true,
Yeah.
and I think it also comes when you are from a different country. Even though
Yeah.
your native language is English,
Yeah.
for example, Americans now probably trying to say British names. I mean cities.
Yes.
That would be a thing because I have come across many people that say, for instance, you were mentioning Birmingham before,
Yes.
and they're like Birmingham.
Birmingham. Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, what do they have? What do they say ham in the
How-
names? It's like it's because that's not ham, but you don't
Yeah.
know it's not ham. And that
Yeah.
happens quite a lot,
A
right?
lot, a lot. Birmingham,
So
full. They have another one called Fulham in English. They'll say Fulham, like really over
yeah,
associate the ham in the parts,
mhm.
England.
Yeah, that precisely. I
Yes,
think that's the one I can think of. Or
yes,
spelling mistakes also.
yes, yes, yes,
I have read on social media and stuff.
yes.
Many spelling mistakes.
A lot of errors, a lot of just simple grammar errors. Again, when they
Right.
could be writing like sentences or a paragraph, and you just see the punctuation errors, and you're native or like what? I hated
Or
it.
you have a problem with what's going on
Yeah,
there.
what's going on? So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's sometimes why I tell students, like
yeah,
when we know it's a mistake in it, it's like that's why I'm telling you, like
yeah,
you really got to mellow down because
sure, yeah,
you're so stressed about this,
hmm,
about having perfect English. Not even natives have a perfect English.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I do think, even to add on that, David, I do think some of the natives they have this kind of like a kind of comfortability. Like I'm already native, I'm already English. It's like I can write, and that's already it. So they can't be sometimes as pushed as someone who is a non-native. Like I've got to make sure everything is correct if I'm emailing a company or if it's like I'm having conversation in a formal
Right.
sentence. So they really go the extra mile. As a native person can just be more relaxed. Like there's no spelling mistakes. Everything I said is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you totally.
Yes.
Right. I think they get too confident.
That's
Like I
it.
don't need it.
Yeah. It's already needed. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All
Mm-hmm.
right then.
Yes.
So that was our last question. So first of all, thank you very much for your time, Richard. Thank you very much
Yes.
for taking time to answer these questions. We want to tell now students that, well, if they like this, we have now the new subscription program, right? So if they want to learn English, or if you're watching the video, you want to learn some English, you can meet Richard or you can meet me.
Yes.
And the subscription to DEBDEN is going to be open now. So, speaking in Spanish for everyone, el programa de suscripción ya está disponible. Tiene un costo, yo creo que es muy bajo, de 100 pesos por mes. ¿No? 100 pesos por mes serían que como $5. $5 e incluye lecciones. Richard, can you tell us when your lessons will be?
Yes, so I'll be running lessons on Wednesday and also Friday in the evening. And yes, if you again ready to come aboard and do some classes, everyone's more than welcome. Be happy to see you.
Vale, sí, exacto. Entonces, Richard va a estar con nosotros miércoles y viernes de 7 a 8 de la noche en hora México. Yo voy a estar dando clases los martes y viernes de 8 a 9 de la noche, ¿vale? El contenido se les envía, es contenido de estudio. Si no entendieron la entrevista, bueno, la idea es que con los cursos la puedan entender después, la puedan revisitar. Les vamos a dar también 2 sesiones de club de conversación,
of course,
para que practiquen con otros alumnos. Y ya en caso de que quieran una clase privada contigo o conmigo, les vamos a estar dando el 15% de descuento a los suscriptores.
Yes.
¿Vale? Entonces, Richard, pues muchas gracias. Thank you very much for your time.
De nada. Anytime.
This is always great. So we reached the end. We let you go. I know you might be excited or tired or both.
A bit of both, David.
Both.
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I feel amazing. Yes. And yes, and David, I want to thank you for this.
My pleasure.
Because I think it's nice seeing it from a perspective of someone who is originally from an English-speaking country as the UK. And so
you're right.
Yeah.
I think like we can safely tell students, well, you heard it from the horse's mouth.
Yes.
Because this is not what I'm telling you as
course.
a Mexican person. This is not what your English teacher is telling you. This is what you as a native
exactly
would tell them, right? So thank you very much for your time, Richard. We call it a day for now.
Awesome.
And have an excellent journey.
Yes, you too. I appreciate it. And so I'll see you on the next one.
Sure. See you on the next one.
Take care.
Bye then.
Later.